Look, man, hunters are good. And I say this loathingly. There is about to be a mass migration of hunter mains this season. Now, if you haven't checked out our previous video, we did a pre and post testing video for all our exotic weapons. Today, though, we're going to be looking at hunters, specifically hunter exotics that got a buff. Now, granted, if you're only interested in a specific exotic, feel free to check out the timestamps below, and you can just skip ahead. With that being said, though, let's kick things off with Shards of Galanor. The change reads, throwing knife kills now grants super energy ranging between 2.5 and 5%, depending on the type of enemy killed. Now, something to note with this change, and all the changes that are going to be on this list, is that these are new additions to our previous exotic functionality. So, for instance, Shards of Galanor, previously it only gave us super energy off of hits and kills from the super. And as you can see here, nothing from knife kills. Now, our super still works the same, but look at our super bar here absolutely jumping up with each knife kill. Even the Scorch applied by knives will proc that super regeneration. Knife kills, especially when killing enemies that are orange bars and above, really put you on the fast track to getting your super. Now, I know some of you probably noticed that there is a cooldown. Looks to be somewhere around 2 seconds. Granted, you can continue to spam knives, but there's going to be a small cooldown in the super generation, unless of course you space your knife kills out. But what makes this exotic's new buff broken is that when we pair it with one simple mod, that being hands-on, which already generates super energy off of melee kills. Here's us going on a spree again, stacking these benefits together, which nets you a lot of supers. Now, we also have a golden gun counterpart to this exotic, which received a similar change, but it is substantial in the damage department. Precision kills now grants super energy ranging between 1.5 and 4.5%, depending on the target type killed. Also increased golden gun impact damage by 25%. Now, pre-season the wish, precision kills gave no irregular super energy, and our marksman golden gun dealt 532,505 damage and would give us back 30% of our super. Post-patch, that damage jumped up to a whopping 665,631 damage. And this is at base. We did an entire video breaking down super damage from our solar supers, especially when combined with certain artifact mods, and you can absolutely delete bosses this season with Celestial Nighthawk. And keep in mind the ease of use. It's one shot, one and done, and you can continue doing DPS with other weapons. And keep in mind, you're still getting that 30% of your super back that will be refunded to you when getting a kill. Now, the beautiful thing about Golden Gun is how it's coded in the game, as kinetic surges will increase the damage of your Golden Gun. Now, you don't want to rock 3, you only want to rock 2 kinetic surges. For some reason, 3 will break it. But other things, of course, increase our damage, including Radiant, which in this case, without any surge mods, bumps our damage up to 881,961. If you were to throw on Tractor Cannon, you could easily hit up to 1,000,000 damage with Celestial. It's chunky, fellas. Now, as for its functionality, though, that's been added this season, you can see our super jump up with precision kills. It's a little less than what we were doing with shards, but when killing anything above a minor, you see it jump up quite a bit. That in conjunction with our refunded energy from Celestial, you'll be running out, dishing out crazy damage and getting your super back pretty quickly. Now, moving on to our last solar hunter change. This one being Ophida Spathe. Knife kills now grant a stacking damage bonus, 30%, 60%, and 100% for 5 seconds to throwing knives. Now, dodging refreshes this duration. Previously, we only had 2 knife charges, which was really nice as Gambler dodge refunds both. But now, this exotic is nasty, guys. That 30 to 100% buff is working as intended, and it feels incredible. As you can see with our weighted knife, that damage ramps up from 36,100 to 72,200. That's 70,000 damage off of one knife. Now, you can also see the timer being refreshed by dodging to make this loop very easy to keep. Now, the damage buff also works really well with Knife Trick if you're not looking to prioritize landing headshots. Knife Trick starts out at 10,830 per knife, going all the way up to 21,660 damage. So if you're hitting your entire Phantom Knives, you're dealing 64,980 damage. And keep in mind, that's just body shot damage. And you've got 2 of these knife charges. I also want to mention that the artifact mods are so loaded for solar this season. We're going to have an entire breakdown video going over all artifact mods, but that in combination with the Ophida Spathe is going to be dishing out some crazy damage. Now, moving on to Bombardiers. Now applies 20 slow stacks to enemy players and 40 slow stacks to PvE combatants. Now, of course, this is talking about what happens when stasis is equipped. Previously, Bombardiers applied no slow stacks. All it really did was just some generic slow that had nothing to do with stasis. And you can see right here, there's no slow debuff on your screen in our pre-testing. But with this change now live, this has done much more than you would think. First, Bombardiers does actually feed into stasis now, and we can see the stacks on our screen here. And with 20 to players and 40 to PvE and combatants, this opens up lots of synergy, namely Bombardiers plus 1 Withering Blade, which will do a full freeze on anything inside of PvE. However, if you run the newly buffed Winter Shroud, you can actually freeze a target with just 1 dodge, as Winter Shroud will apply 60 slow stacks, and Bombardiers will freeze them with the last 40 stacks. Now, no lie, it was crazy to me that Bombardiers previously had no interaction with stasis, but I'm happy to see it now. And yes, we will be breaking it out for some shenanigans inside of PvP this season. Now, moving on to our exotics that are improving our weapons. First up, Mechaneer's Tricksleeves. The buff reads that sidearm damage bonus now persists for 5 seconds after your shields begin to recharge. Sidearm kills extend the damage bonus duration by 3 seconds and completely reload your sidearm from reserves. The damage bonus has also been reduced in PvP to compensate for it lasting longer, it now being 10% damage down from 35%. Now, Tricksleeves previously was a very niche weapon. By niche, I mean terrible. Now, it did give you a whopping 100% increase in damage to all sidearms, including special sidearms like Forerunner, but you had to be in the red. You had to be critically wounded, and the moment you begin to regenerate your shields, that buff was gone. But after this update, Tricksleeves is feeling amazing. The damage bonus is the same inside of PvE at 100%. Granted, it did decrease inside of PvP. You can see it right here where old values of Buzzard being 48 per body and 68 damage per crit. Now it's 40 damage per body and 56 per crit. Granted, the trade-off is the ease of use, or at least more ease of use. Now, the most noticeable change is that you're actually able to keep this buff rolling. The 5-second timer is really nice, but the new functionality of reloading sidearms and then extending the buff timer on kills has actually put this exotic in a great place. 100% damage, especially on some of our exotic sidearms, does a tremendous amount of damage. And before you ask, yes, we are going to be putting a video together going over all the sidearms, including the new sidearm that's with the dungeon. Now, next on the list, we have Triton Vice. Its buff reads, increased glaive melee damage bonus while surrounded to 100% for both PvE and PvP, up from 30% in PvE and 10% in PvP. Now, let me just say this, guys. Triton Vice, preseason the wish, was pathetic. A 30% increase was all it granted. Winter Bite, our highest damaging glaive, would hit for 20,022 damage, and with Triton Vice, that would go up to a whopping 26,029. Did I mention pathetic? Post buff, though, Triton Vice vastly surpasses its previous benefits. On a normal glaive, without Triton, we're hitting 13,946. With our new 100% buff, Triton boosts that damage to 27,892. And you can go on and stack it with other things like close to melee and radiant, and you can take a regular glaive and buff its damage up to 45,324 damage, which in this case is approximately 225% more damage. Now, that doesn't mean that hunters, you need to throw your weapons away and run out there and become a glaive main, but they are doing a lot better now. What's even more is that it actually applies to PvP, taking our glaive damage from 71 damage to 141 damage, which is easily enough to do a shot melee combo for that kill. Now, finally, the exotic every PvP main that plays hunter is so happy to see this season. Stompies has pretty much had a reversal of all of its nerfs, but you remove the requirement to have full class ability energy to benefit from the movement bonuses. Now, they reduced the airborne lateral acceleration bonus, but it now provides damage resistance against combatants while airborne inside of PvE. This is more of a subjective thing, guys, but I would say that for my hoppity hunters out there, you're gonna feel right at home. No longer you're gonna be in a situation where after using your class ability, you feel like you're stuck in the mud. And I know that's a bit of an exaggeration, but considering the benefits that Stompies give you, as soon as you would roll that back, it was jarring. Now, for the pullback there on the lateral acceleration bonus, it's really affecting the speed at which you move through the air. With our pre and post testing, you can see the distance covered is the same, but it's our speed that's slightly different. And while I actually did an entire breakdown on Stompies, which I completely agree with, in some ways, this is a nerf, and it's just because of that speed. Like if you're used to hitting your head on the ceiling and like boosting yourself as a hunter, or if you're just really used to that speed acceleration that you had previously with Stompies, I feel like you're probably gonna notice it. Now again, it still has all its other benefits. Sliding, that extended slide range, the speed on the ground, all that's still the same. It's just that acceleration in air. Actually, in some ways, it almost feels like Stompies on the ground, but Bones of AO when jumping. And I guess for my hunter mains, it's more of a question of, do you like this? Are you happy with this? But considering how much Bungie has gone back and forth with its exotic, this change right here feels pretty final. Now, as far as the damage reduction, feels nice, but keep in mind, it won't be saving your life anytime soon. You wanna go hop around inside of a GM, good luck, you're probably still gonna get shredded. And for those wondering, does it somehow magically apply in PvP that damage resists? Nope, it doesn't. We tested it. No cheesy stuff here. By the way, for our Aeon exotics, which got massive improvements this season, we will be making a video breaking down all 3 overview of those with their new functionality. Lots to unpack with those exotics, guys. It's going to require a dedicated video, so be looking out for that. So that's it, guys. Those are our hunter exotic changes. Again, we're going to be fleshing out builds throughout the season. We're just hitting the overviews right now, and then we'll be circling back for those individual builds. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.